Hey guys, so I've got another DVM system that we're looking at. This is the DVM+4. Still trying to figure out exactly what the issue is here on site. Essentially this module was isolated and only the master condenser was running. I started with all the basics. We checked our incoming supply voltage, we checked our compressors, we done an ohm check. Between windings, they are 3-phase compressors, so they're all equal, or within 10%, so then you know the compressor's good. So we've got a digital scroll, and then we just got our standard scroll compressor. I went through the fuses on the CT PC board, they're all fine as well. I also checked our 3-phase condenser fan motor. We also got equal readings between windings. We've done an insulation resistance test, and both of our compressors between windings to earth is more than 1 meg ohm, which is within spec. So yeah, what I've done now is I've proceeded to open the valves. The oil balance line was open, so that was never isolated, but we opened our suction and liquid line. Yeah, so we've opened our suction and our liquid line, or discharge line, however you want to look at it. The expansion valves on these units are at the indoors. This is a VRF system, so the expansion valve is not at the condenser, which would then ultimately make this a liquid line. However, that is what it is. It's a high pressure liquid. So yeah, let's have a look. I'm just waiting for the system to start up now. I've proceeded to connect our service checker. Let me go ahead and switch off this flash. We're in the daytime. Yeah, it's pretty hot inside. Room temps are about 29 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees Celsius. Some of them are 28, 27, and the lowest is 26. Ambient conditions right now, according to the sensor on the outdoor unit data, we've got an outdoor temp of 32 degrees. With my thermal hygrometer, my apologies, with my thermal hygrometer I've measured about 34, close to 36 degrees ambient. The compressor sounds a little rough starting up. Let's just check our startup amps, 6.9. Okay, we're gonna just monitor this guy and see. We're going to check temperatures. We are going to check our system operations. I'm going to have to close some of these panels, simply just because, I mean, you can obviously see there's a tremendous amount of air that's been drawn over here. So we want that air to be drawn across our condenser heat exchanger instead of drawing all this ambient air over here, so that we can get a proper representation of what our system pressure is. So what we're going to do is we're going to let the system run for a little bit. So if you come and have a look, you'll see that the operation status is in safety start. We're going to allow it to run for a little bit. With these higher ambient conditions, the operation status will change fairly quickly. So we're waiting for it to go into test operation. Let's just have a look at our outdoor circuit. So yeah, we're looking at a couple of data points. We're looking at our high pressure, we're looking at low pressure, which is a little high at this stage, but also important, we're looking at suction temperature. We're looking at our liquid line tube, our compressor top temperatures or our discharge temperatures, we're looking at that. And then of course the other thing that I'll definitely be looking at is our evap in and out, as well as the superheat across each evaporator in relation to our EEV, so how many steps our electronic expansion valve has opened. Then we'll come back and we'll have a look at some of these outdoor data, just to kind of sum up and see whether or not our system is operating efficiently. Alright, so I'm gonna let the system run for a little bit, and yeah, then we'll get back into the video.
Okay guys, so we've got test operation now. Let's just quickly have a look at the outdoor data.
I'm still a little bit concerned about that high pressure as well as the low pressure. More specifically, our low pressure. High side is almost at target. We're a tad high on the low side. Let's just wait for compressor 2 to kick in as well. Okay, there we go. Compressor 2 on the master condenser just switched on. The master condenser has got 3 compressors and our slave unit has only got 2, so we should see a difference in our pressures. So far discharge temperatures are not looking too crazy. Suction line temps is a bit of a problem. Suction 2. Alright, I'll let you guys know. Okay, so let's have another look. System's in test operation, and we've got on both condensers we've got compressor 1 and 2 running. Now if we have a look at our pressure, low and high, you can see that that has stabilized quite nicely. Our discharge temperatures are not out of whack, so I'm happy with that. We're just waiting for compressor 2 on the slave module for that discharge to increase a little bit. In actual fact, both compressor 1 and 2 on the slave module. Yeah, if I have a look at my suction temperatures, the line temp is 5 degrees Celsius. Now there's quite a bit of a heat load inside, so we just want to keep our eye on that. We need the system to stabilize a little bit longer, so we're waiting for that evap out temperature to drop down as well. So yeah, the system's been consistently dropping evap in, so far so good. We'll give it a little bit of running time and we'll get back and have a look at some of the data. I'm also making a recording so that I can always play back this data if there is anything that I've missed in the field. So yeah, so far I'm not finding anything that's jumping out. I don't see the reason why the slave module was isolated, but we'll try and determine what the reason for that was once we've got a better picture and idea of what's actually happening over here. Okay guys, so system's running and I'm pretty much still trying to figure out what the issue is. Now when this compressor 1, which is our digital scroll compressor in our slave module, started up, I could hear that this compressor did not sound very great at all. So what I'm going to do is, because this suction line is extremely hot, it sounds to me that we are bypassing in the shell. So it's running, but essentially yeah, it's equalized. So what I'll do is I'll put the high side on the high on the discharge, and I'll put the low on the low, and what I'll do is I will put up a screen recording of the values that I get on these 2 sensors, and you guys can essentially see what's happening over here. Our compressor 2 is running and this line is ice cold. As you can see, we are sweating back, and our suction line temp is 5 degrees and 6 degrees. Alright, so 646, the top one, is on the low side, and 656 is on the high side. So not exactly identical, but obviously, I mean, you can see that low side is 50 degrees Celsius. Definitely a problem. Okay, so as you guys can see, I can feel an extreme cold. The air is extremely cold dropping from this unit. So that one's not running either. Neither is that one, nor is that one. Essentially everything on the ground floor is not running, and then we've got one unit on the first floor not running. So I need to figure out why that is, and that could be the reason why we see the big difference on our evaporator out compared to our suction line temp at the condenser, because our suction line temp at the condenser is 5 degrees, but our units over here, even upstairs, these ones will be a lot lower, but upstairs they are struggling to come below 20 degrees. So what I'll do is I'll do a unit count, change the settings on the condenser, and see if we are able to get these systems to operate. Okay guys, so where are we with this entire assessment? So as you can see, our evaporator in temperatures are fairly nice. Ignore these two because they've got an active error code on them, a 129. Now it's telling us that that sensor is probably open circuit, which I don't believe is the case. Let's go to sensor. It says our evaporator out temperature sensor is detached from the evap out. I don't think that's the case. But what I want to focus on more is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units. Now if you have a look at that address, you'll see that the order is completely messed up. So I did a unit count inside and there's 19 units. However, the system's only picking up 10 units. So what I'll do now is I'll stop the system. I'll change the indoor unit quantity settings on the dip switches over here. So we'll just change the quantity and we'll see how many units we pick up if we're going to go into a communication failure. But yeah, operating the system like this is not ideal. So let's see what we can do. All right. Okay guys, so to conclude that assessment, what we found was compressor 1, the digital scroll compressor on the slave module, that compressor was bypassing internally. I ohmed out all the compressors, did an insulation resistance test, so all of them were fine, so I've reinstated just to test operation. Upon further inspection, we obviously ran the system. The suction line was sweating back. I was happy with the overall performance in terms of system pressure, as well as some of the evaporator temperatures. However, I was concerned about the evaporator out and my suction line temp at the condenser. There was a 15 or 10 degree difference, which then led me to go and have a look at some of the indoor units. That's when we discovered basically half of our indoor systems are not being acknowledged by the condenser. So I had to do a lot of tracing of the comms line. I didn't want to record that. It was a bit chaotic and there wasn't much value to come from that. So yeah, so what we're going to recommend is the system still looks fairly decent, I must say, for a system that was manufactured in 2012. So yeah, that unit is quite old. As I mentioned, that system, it is quite old, but fortunately the condenser coil was coated with the anti-corrosive coating. However, it wasn't maintained properly, so a lot of it has started flaking, but it at least preserved the unit as best as possible, being so close to the coast. So I think what we'll recommend is a compressor replacement as well as the comms line. We'll probably end up replacing the entire comms line, and the reason for that is that comms line is not even 0.5 mil. Across that distance we've got over 120 meters of communication cable. So with that distance, we're definitely going to bump into some issues. So what I'll recommend is replacing it with a minimum of 0.75 mil twin flex or twin shielded cable, not flex cable, shielded cable. So we'll do that. We'll make that recommendation, see if the client is prepared to make those repairs. However, speaking to the facility manager, I've been able to get a little bit of background information on what has been done to the system. So what they've done was one of the indoor circuit boards were replaced. Now, whether or not the guys were aware that the indoor address needs to be assigned when you're replacing one of those indoor PC boards, that's on the Samsung DVM+. I'm making a lot of mistakes. That's on the Samsung DVM+4 system. Yeah, it's really hot, guys. Jeez, it's like 36 degrees Celsius outside. It's a scorcher today, so I was working outside as well. I was basically sitting inside, outside in the sun, directly in the sun. The sun was directly on my back. I mean, I've got the air conditioner running in the van, and I'm still sweating a little bit. But yeah, that's going to conclude it for this video. There'll maybe be a follow-up if we get the approval to do all of the correctives. If not, that's going to be it for this video. I've made a part 2 for a system that we've repaired in town. I don't think I've posted that video, and basically just because the part 2 is basically just going to be the system data. So I'll show you guys a screen recording of the system data when we commissioned it. Yeah, it's our peak season, so pretty busy, running up and down, lots of calls in the day that we need to try and cram in, so it really limits my my recording. Sorry, I'm actually holding the phone in my hand while driving. Let me give you guys a little bit of a view of where I'm heading right now. So yeah, I'm heading towards the west coast, going to be driving along the Atlantic. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoy it. If there's anything useful that you found in this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions you might have on Samsung DVM systems, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see. I'm trying to zoom in. There's table mounted for you. Not the steadiest of recording, but there's table mounted for you. Alright, that's gonna be it for this video.